Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's show. This is Lean On Me Radio, and I am Rita Marie. We have with us today Teresa, who is someone that I met on Clapper, and I've come to know her very well, and she has an amazing story about how she met her biological brother through Ancestry.com. So, welcome to the show, Teresa. And why don't we start with how long ago it was that you actually met your biological brother?
Up until almost 4 years ago.
4 years ago. Wow. Okay, so you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you first, and then we can talk about how you actually met your brother and what led up to it all.
Okay, so at 18 months old, I was, they call it the black market baby. My parents got me, and just pretty much through my life, I never had anyone to, compare who I looked like, who I acted like, such and so forth. Then at 16, I was placed in foster care due to some family violence and abuse, both sexual and physical, by my father, not my biological father. Um, and so I was put in touch with my biological mom through DFACS. That was kind of a disaster. And I guess probably about 7 or 8 years ago, I kept asking for the Ancestry DNA. And so finally, about 5 years ago, for Mother's Day, the kids gave me the Ancestry DNA. I sent the test in. Uh, about a year later, I got a random FaceTime call from a lady, and she thought we were at least second cousins according to Ancestry. And we got to talking, and so I was telling her the name of my parents after, the whole long story. She had lots of questions, like, Market Baby, how'd you end up in defects? And when I mentioned my father's name, she just kind of stopped dead and said, holy cow. And I said, what? And she said, my husband is your half brother. So we spoke every single day for 3 months. He lived in New Mexico, and then he flew in and spent 10 days here. When he got ready to leave, the oldest of the two grandchildren that I am raising said, why can't you just move here? Because as a child, kids don't get, how, you know, from Georgia and New Mexico, that's a big, long, huge move. Well, 2 weeks later, Bradley called and said, Christine and I have been talking about it. We're going to finish the flip house, put the house up for sale, and move to Georgia. They ultimately did not find a place in Georgia they liked, but they ended up in Central Alabama, an hour and a half away.
Oh, wow. So, with what you just said, now he's your half brother, and you met him actually through Ancestry.com or whatever you call it. And so my question is going to be, is he your half brother? I mean, you have the same moms or you have the same dads?
We share the same dad. And
Okay.
the ironic thing about it was he got his DNA on a Father's Day the same year. I did mine on a Mother's Day. Um, Another thing, we both in our signature, I sign my name with my first initial and then my last name. He does the same thing. It's really um ironic that there's so much that we do alike not to have known each other. until about, it'll be 4 years in, I think, August. And we've not ever missed one day talking. There are four other siblings, however, and we're friends on Facebook, but Bradley and I just clicked. And from day one, it was like he just blended right in, like we had been together our whole entire lives.
Oh, wow. Well, I wish he was here right now because that would be really interesting to be able to talk to him too. Um, so after y'all met, what was your, I guess I want to call it, I don't know, a reunion or your meetup? What was it like when you first saw him?
Well, I had went and got T-shirts made that said Bradley's little sister, and it had like this heart, and then his said Teresa's big brother, and it had like this arrow, so that when we stood next to each other, the arrow would go into his heart, which they both had the hearts. And on the back, they said, "Thanks to God," and Ancestry.com. So when I met him at the airport, there was tons of people stopping us, wanting to know the story, and it was a very emotional time. You see it on TV all the time, but after having had the bad experience meeting my biological mother, um, I was a little weary about the whole thing, even though we had talked and I just felt like we were clicking and had gotten to know him. Of course, the insecurity was on my side. I felt like, what if he doesn't like me? This is nothing like the biological mom. It was very emotional, and we shared a whole lot about our lives, and mine's been kind of a rocky one, and he just would just hold my hand and cry with me and say, "Sis, I'm so sorry I wasn't there for you." And by nature, we are both caregivers at heart, and he is just a very laid back, humble man. How, after retiring from 30 years as a corrections officer, I don't know how he maintained that attitude, but he's a wonderful guy.
Oh, wow. That is really awesome, awesome, awesome. And I'm really surprised with a meetup like that and everything that some of these radio talk shows didn't get involved with that because normally they do. And they make a big to do about it, and they even put you up in hotel rooms and stuff like that, and sometimes give you, like money to go take a little mini vacation with and all that kind of stuff. So, has anybody approached you about anything like that?
I've never actually thought about that. Christine did ask if I knew anybody that could do a podcast, and I do have a friend that's local, but she didn't ask until, like a week or two before he was coming. So there wasn't enough time, or my friend said he could have gotten somebody from uh, West Georgia Tech here to have probably done a podcast on it. However, she is still planning on doing a podcast. But no, I never really thought about it, but I probably could have with the amount of people I know, because I have two grandchildren that have a rare skin disease. So I got to know a lot of people from the newspaper and radios. That's how I got to know the DJ. I probably could have asked, and they probably would have done a write up on it. Being paid and put up in a motel room wouldn't be near as important to me as helping someone find, that sibling out there to relate to. And I didn't never have that, in my whole life. So it was a very big. I've found a sister in Kansas. She was adopted through some Catholic charities. We share the same mother. Um, and like I said, there's four other siblings on his side, but we none have clicked like Bradley and I. It just definitely was a meant to be sister brother relationship.
Wow, that is really awesome. And so, you had mentioned about your grandchildren and how they have a rare skin disease, and I want to have you back later on, in the near future to be able to discuss that and also some other things with you. So it's going to be a couple of different podcasts that we do. But I guess right now, what I want to ask you is, so you two have a lot of commonalities. So what is it that you do have in common? Do y'all like to do the same things? I mean, what are the commonalities?
Well, in some senses, we're total opposites, and in others, we're very much the same. We both love to fish. Um, we love to talk. The difference is he talks very slow. I can get 15 sentences out before he can get one. Um, he's a good listener, um, and I'm a good listener. Um, that's when you can shut me up long enough. Not to say that I don't listen. Just my mind span sometimes. I have a few mental disorders, so sometimes if I don't say it right then, I'll forget it, and then later I'm like, oh gosh, I really need to say that. So, um, and he has some anxiety issues, but when he talks about taking his happy pill, which is a non-narcotic, not to say that I'm strung out on pills. I want to clear that up before I say anything, but I've been through a whole lot in my life, and so I have a lot of anxiety, and so where his happy pill is a boost bar, mine is a Xanax. So mine is PRN. Boost bar works more on a therapeutic level. You have to, pretty much take it for it to keep your anxiety down. Whereas for me, only if I feel extremely overwhelmed do I have to take my medication. But he draws. He loves to draw. He's very artistic. Um, he's just a very caring person. He likes to give more than he gets, and in saying that, he's been walked on a lot in his life. Um, I like to give, and I don't really ever expect anything back. I get a lot of joy out of uh, giving, helping, and so does he. But in turn, people will walk on you, and it'll get done before you really realize that's what's happened.
Right, that's so true. I'm a giver too, and I hate to say it this way, but the truth of the matter is you can give, 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 give. And then when people just start taking, and not even appreciating it, it makes it really hard. Um, and sometimes you can have resentments over that. But you seem to be handling things pretty well. Now, I don't know your brother too well, but you did say there were other siblings. How many are there? And, what do you know about them? Anything at this point?
I know very little about them except for what he shares with me, which is it's not a lot. I don't think he's close to any of his siblings like he and I are. He may tell me something about one or there's four others. He may tell me something that's going on in their life, but rarely does he. They're kind of scattered. There's one in Tennessee. I think there's one in Alabama. There's one in Texas. There's another one in New Mexico. So they're kind of scattered. So they haven't maintained or kept up relationships with each other past growing up and leaving home. Our dad died young of a massive heart attack. He was 59, and he was a retired police officer. So Bradley kind of followed in his footsteps there. Um, that's kind of where we become opposites. Bradley took the good road, made the good choices, and I kind of rebelled. I think for various reasons, which would be a whole nother story, but I kind of repelled. So I made some bad choices, was dealt some bad cards. And then when I was dealt the bad cards, I either dealt with them in a either worse way, or some of them I chose a better way. So it was kind of rocky. Um, and I was pretty much unsettled, um, all except for being a parent, because I raised a lot of step kids. I call them bonus children. I really think step kids is kind of layman's terms, but um, my life was mostly dedicated to, you know, children. So whenever I had any kind of extra time or free time, up until I was probably 40, I didn't always make the best decisions. Bradley, on the other hand, seemed to always make the good decisions. And if he ever talks about something that is so minor compared to what I done, I have to laugh at him. And so I've got him to where he laughs at himself now. But anything that I've told him, um, and all of the things that's going on in my, he has not ever one time looked at me and said, well, you know, if you were younger you shouldn't have done it. And especially coming from, you know, being in corrections, and said you could have done this differently, you could have done that different. He's never, and he's still never, even with me going through, he doesn't judge. He's just a very humble, and he's a God-fearing man. He's just, I, I, I don't think they make them like that anymore. My daughter-in-law would be a close comparison, maybe in a female version. He just tries really hard to do the right thing by people, um, always lend the extra helping hand. And if he gets burned, he just, you know, dusts it off, goes on with it, and still keeps lending the helping hand. Um, I am kind of like you get, you give, you give, you give. And then there comes a time, there comes a sort of resentment and bitterness. However, I don't usually hold on to that very long. I guess probably going through the divorce I'm going through now is probably the longest I feel like I've held any kind of bitterness. And it's just that's a whole nother story. But even with everything that's gone on, Bradley does never speak ill of the soon to be ex. We just don't talk about it. Or if he does talk about it, he'll say, you know, he's not good for you. Don't go around him. But he never speaks in a bad way about him ever. He's just all around the American dream. If you want to find a sibling, he's exactly what you'd find on Lifetime Movie Network.
Oh wow, that's so awesome. And you know, you had brought up the you were going through a divorce and everything, and that was actually going to be my next question is, and you've explained a lot of it. Um, Beings that, you know, he's supportive in a lot of other areas. I was just wondering, you know, how he felt about all of this with you getting a divorce, and if he was supportive at all, you know, and understanding with all of this that you're going through.
Yeah, he's very understanding. In the beginning, he was not much of one to want to talk about anything other than, you know, if I was having a bad day and to try to uplift me. He didn't really ask for details or anything. And really, he still doesn't. I offer him out, and he would either, you know, try to make light of the subject, not to make fun of it, but, you know, try to, you know, just lean me in a different direction of thinking or feeling, so that, you know, because I'm his little sister and he's the best big brother and super protective. Nobody could ask for anything more in a big brother. And he's been supportive to me in like so many ways. And I don't say this in a bragging way, and I don't say it lightly, because I I've always wanted to be an independent type person. As I watched, some of my mom's siblings. She was one of, not my biological mom, but she was one of 13 children, and I would watch a lot of the parents pass or be raising their grandchildren, and just people, didn't care, wouldn't lend a helping hand, didn't want to, just didn't want to do anything, and so many times he's just financially insisted on helping me, and I'm like, no, I can't do that. And he goes, that's what family does. And he would tell me, quit being so prideful. um and it really wasn't pride, I just didn't want to take advantage. And certainly, not knowing him, but almost, like I said, before years, October, and the uh it'd be October the 10th is his birthday. So he actually came out and was here on his birthday. But just without second thought, and as many times as his own children, even, and family members, have just walked on him, and all the stories that he's told me, um, anytime the mere mention of him helping me financially was brought up, it was something I didn't want to do. I didn't want to do. And he would insist, and I, most of the time, because I am disabled and I am raising one disabled grandchild, the other one is I'm pretty sure he's going to be diagnosed with ADHD in the next year. They don't diagnose till 5, but my resources are very limited. um so Bradley, he and his wife, they never had children together, so they've made a really good life, and they have you know set themselves up like, most of us want our children to do, so that in their old age they don't have to worry. And I, not to try to rattle on or travel off, but I did get, at one point, I did get a settlement in the bladder mesh case. So I thought, this is my time to be independent. So I bought the place I'm living in now, um, and built on a room to it, and then bought and paid cash for a car, which gave me my independence. My soon to be ex and I were separated then. There's been a couple of separations in the last several years. Never have we finalized and set on a divorce like we have now. And, it's just absolutely has to happen. But I can't really explain Bradley as a person. You would actually have to talk to him, meet him, to understand how super awesome he is. Because to hear me say it, they're probably thinking, oh, she's just biased, or she's just partial because he's helped her and she's had a bad. It's just not like that. He's like that with everybody. Everywhere he goes, he makes friends. Like right now, he knows everybody in his neighborhood, and they live on in an area where there's most houses have at least 2 or 3 acres on their property. But he knows everybody. He helps them feed their horses. He helps them cut their grass. He's just and his wife. They're just really, really good people. I couldn't have been any more blessed. I just absolutely could not have been any more blessed.
Well, that is really awesome, Teresa. And I shouldn't keep calling you by name because I don't know if you want your name out there considering this is going on a podcast. But I haven't mentioned your last name. So, I don't think it's going to matter that much. And, I did want to ask you though, I know that you have some pictures and, I don't know if you'd be willing to share those pictures with me of your reunion. to be able to put along with this podcast so people can actually see your reunion. Not a video or anything like that, just maybe a few little pictures of you guys hugging. And I mean, we could even block out your faces if you choose to be that way. But I just think from what you're telling me, it just seems like a real, like, I almost want to say laid back, um, very caring, loving person. And that's really amazing to be able to meet your half brother like that and him be such a genuine person. That's not everybody, and you are really blessed in that aspect. You really, really are. And again, I wished he were here, but it is what it is. And maybe at a later date we can get him on and have a little bit of a discussion with him and find out more about how he feels about the meetup and everything.
Yeah, and I don't mind you using my name. My life has pretty much been an open book. Um, I learned a long time ago that, I'm not really scared of stalkers or anything like that. I've been through all that in real life. But yeah, I actually do have a lot of pictures. I do have some short video clips of us meeting and hugging at the airport. Um, I've got pictures of us just looking at each other through the glass as he boarded to go back home to New Mexico. And I didn't want him to leave, and he didn't want to leave. And it was just, I mean, it just absolutely does not happen 99.9% of the time like this in real life. Um, and like I said, after the bad experience of meeting my biological mom, I was very leery of the whole thing. And it just, it's just a very rare thing to find and relate to and feel like this person has been in your life forever. It just, you weren't around each other. It's like we've always known each other. We just weren't around each other to visit and such and so forth. He almost knows what I'm thinking or saying before I think it or say it, and I do him too. So it must be coming from our father's side. But yeah, you only do see stuff like what's going on with mine and Bradley's um connection. You only see it in the movies. It's because most of the time in real life, it just doesn't happen, and it doesn't happen this good. There's not been one single disagreement between us. There's not been one iota of hard feelings. There's not been any time we couldn't just sit and just talk about things or help each other through whatever. And you know, if his wife goes off to do a podcast and she's gone for a month, I get a whole lot of Bradley messages, and that's okay because he gets a whole lot of little sister messages too. But this is definitely it's kind of like the my most viewed video on Clapper. It's a fairy tale story for real.
Right, right. That's what it sounds like too. That is so awesome. And how long ago was it you met him now?
Going in August will be 4 years.
Oh, wow. Wow. That is awesome. That is really, really wonderful. So Tyler, do you have any questions for Teresa?
I was saying, your son, um, he also on be ADHD. Well, I'm ADHD and ADD, high function, high bipolar, and stuff like that. And man, that is like, whew. And if you're and You say you're disabled too? Wow, so am I. So you're in the wavelength that I am right now, disabled and all that stuff. So, you go, girl.
Well, I appreciate that, and thank you, Tyler. I think my fellow GRG here, that's grandparents raising grandchildren. I think we are gonna do an interview at some point on mental illness. I have more than one. There are several, and that is my disability. And it can make things in life very difficult. So to get kudos up from someone else that truly understands, that means a lot.
I do understand because, hey, I'm with you, girl. You go, Teresa.
Yes, Teresa, and thank you for touching on that, and you as well, Tyler. It is 3:55 now, and I know we got a little bit of a late start, but this is the first podcast, and I will be putting this out on YouTube. So, Teresa, if you could send me some of those videos and some of those pictures to add with it, maybe I could do this little radio podcast that we did as a background of the whole entire, put together pictures and videos. I think that would be really, really awesome. And then, I will write up something that really hits on some of the major points of, your meetup and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think this turned out really good, and I appreciate you being here. And we will get to you being a GRG because I'm a GRG as well. And we will also get into the mental health aspect of things at a later date. But anyway, thank you again for being here, and we'll get together again soon.
Well, let me just say to you, Rita, you are so super talented. You're very compassionate. Your empathy goes a long way with me. I hope that other people appreciate it as much as I do. And I know as grandparents raising grandchildren, we can get frustrated. You handle it very well with all you have going on radio and your mentorship and such and so forth. And I am honored that you chose me and chose the topic that you chose. It would have been my first choice to talk about, but any topic, I'm more than willing to help you with anything. Join in with others to help. You know, I've been a domestic violent. I've been married to a man of domestic violence. So, but if you can do backgrounds and stuff like that, and then put it all in a little YouTube, that would be awesome. Um, I'll be sure and get with Christine and have her get with you, and she can probably pull the pictures up way quicker than I can. Um, because currently I have just my phone. She's got access to so she's got a laptop she gave me that she's fixing now. But like the folders, she'll be quicker to get to the folders, but she can send me anything I ask for. So yeah, I don't mind sharing. You don't have to blur our faces. We are very proud, and we want to speak very highly of Ancestry DNA. Had he not been willing to buy and pay for that leaf, I probably would not have. So I'm very glad he did. It's not as simple as it seems when you do the 123.com or Ancestry DNA. You'll get the little clue, but then you have to pay. So me being in a budgeted situation, I probably would have thought back about how the meeting with my biological mom was and chose not to, even if it was very cheap and affordable, to do the leap because I would be protecting my heart from being disappointed. But Bradley chose to, and I'm glad that he did.
Well, thank you. I appreciate everything you said, Teresa. And yeah, I totally agree. You probably would have never met hadn't he have done that. And it is really super awesome, just your whole entire story. And there's so much more to you than just this. And that is why I want to get you back on at a later date. So thank you again for joining us today, Teresa. And I hope you and Bradley have a wonderful life together. God bless y'all.